Hello, students. So we have just reached the end of the first week of school. Well, technically, it feels like the second week because the first week after New Year's Day, we are back in school for Thursday and Friday. But based on the calendar, the academic calendar, that's considered week zero, right? So today actually marks the end of the first week. I hope it has been a nice week for you. I believe most of this week is spending time going to class and getting to know your new teachers for the coming year and ready to get ourselves into the mind frame to actually prepare to learn. Uh, just want to share some of my thoughts of the week. Of course, one of the first thing that happened was we had a session with the form teacher, and one of the things that was mentioned by some of the students when I asked them, how was the first day on Monday. One of the response is that they find that because the actual content of the learning has not taken place, for me in terms of the academic learning, they felt a little bit bored, which is a concern. I mean, it is good that we want to actually start learning the content and the subjects that we are ready to learn. But one of the operational, thing that we always talk about, operational behavior, operational values that we always talk about, is relationship. And true learning is about building relationship. Everything is down to human relations, even learning. There's a maxim that I always cherish very close to my heart, and that is most of the time people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's something that I really cherish. This line is so precious to me. And I learned this before when I was still a rookie teacher. So to to build it, to me, what this line really means is that for deep learning to take place, deep human connection and relationship cannot be avoided. If we are just going to adopt the mindset that I'm a knowledge absorber when we go to school, then it is very sad, right? Because we are here to put into a setting like a school, an environment. It's not merely just to learn the content and the knowledge, but really to learn how to bond with other human being, to learn how to socialize, to learn how to behave, to read people's emotion, to learn how to embrace others, learn to be inclusive, and yeah, basically learn how to be a good human being. So this is critical because if we want is to gain some knowledge after we learn how to read and write, I'm sure we can always just pick up a book and read. And that's why sometimes people say, with the rise of technology, AI and whatnot, education is going to be replaced by technology. It will never happen. I mean, content knowledge can be replaced, but true education about becoming an educated person, becoming a learned person, can only take place where we transmit the attitude and the mindset from one human being to another human being, right? I will never had become the person I am if there isn't people who inspired me in my youth with their behavior, not with their knowledge. So to start off the week without just a lot of introduction, getting to know one another, getting to know your friends who sits around you in the class, I think it's very valuable. And I hope that, of course, since we are all young and still exploring, as the days go by, as you feel more comfortable in the environment, we can all open our hearts and embrace one another really, really deeply. And from there, we can really learn together and grow together. So with that, I also want to mention that the first thing I want to talk about was about the reading. So in class, I've been sharing with my students that when they read in class, I really wish that they first of all read good books, right? And know to sit in the right posture, respect the books that you are reading, put it on the table in front of you, and really read. And when we read good books, I'm talking about good books, right? It is really a dialogue with the author. So good books of course come from good authors, and when we have that dialogue with the author, we can actually form connection with someone that transcends time and space. That is what books does, right? So when you read a book with, of course, when we read a book and we have a dialogue with the author, doesn't mean that everything the author say we agree. It means that it's a good book. It's not necessary, but rather whatever the author actually writes causes us to think and evaluate ourselves and help us to grow, then I think it's a very meaningful book. So look for deep, meaningful book and have dialogues with. But I can understand that sometimes in the reading period where we do a reading before we start the day, some people may feel uncomfortable in that setting. And then moreover, you have other friends around you and everyone is reading. I actually just attended a briefing for parents for my children, my son's school. So we sat down, the principal of my son's school actually shared a little bit about reading and forming good habits. And I agree completely that reading is a habit we need to build up. Even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you allocate a certain period of time in the day to read, it goes a long way. But I say some children get put off by it because when we are growing up, when you ask young children, primary school kids, kindergarten kids, after they learn how to read and write, ask them whether they enjoy reading. Every one of them enjoy reading, everyone. But as we grow older, sometimes that joy disappear. And say one of the reasons why the joy disappear also because we do not read the appropriate books that challenge us. Imagine if you are reading a book, a comic. Not okay. There are actually comics that's pitched for older audiences, but not a comic for young children. And you've been reading it, and then when you sit down in the reading period, and your friends around you are reading, books for pre-teens and teens, and you're still reading a book that's meant for nursery, for example. I think when we realize when you find yourself in that setting, sometimes your self-esteem took a hit, and you may feel that maybe I'm just not good at reading. I can't recognize deeper words. Then as we grow older, sometimes you find that young books for younger people usually have illustration and so on. For older folks, maybe less so. Okay, and you realize, oh, my books still have diagrams and pictures. Yours don't have. It's really, and yours have a reading level much higher. And again, if this goes on prolonged, you instead of feeling that you need to rise above and advance in your reading ability and comprehension ability, you regress and you realize this is not for me. You don't want to embarrass yourself in front of your friends and your peers, and you hide yourself, shy away from actually reading and challenging yourself with good books. If you fall into that trap, I think it's really very unfortunate. So because ultimately reading is a dialogue with the author, right? And of course you want to engage authors that can stimulate you intellectually, emotionally, maybe even spiritually, and really rouse you into action and to upgrade yourself. So look for good books. And if you have not been reading appropriately, let's start. There are many, many good books out there. And like I mentioned earlier, you do not need to actually find a book where you agree with every points that the author said. Oh, suddenly you feel like you're a changed man. It's not necessary. Like I say, it's a dialogue, right? So some of the points that the author share is great, some of the author share is not great. Never mind, right? As long as it's a book that stimulates your thinking. So I mean, I also enjoy reading, and I'm reading constantly as well. And I can also share. I thought this avenue to show you that also what are the books that I'm reading, and maybe to inspire you to also share the books that you're reading, right? So as an educator, this is what I'm reading recently. I mean, I'm constantly reading. I always have a ebook. I mean, I use the ebook. Wait a minute. Let me go. Yeah. So this is a book. I'm trying to go to a cover page so that you can see it. Quite straightforward, right? Uh, Raising good humans. See, so just for a topic that you're interested in as educator, it's interesting to me to learn about all the theories and all the studies that people has made on how we can most effectively raise good human beings, and also as a parent definitely applicable. And that's what I'm reading recently. I just finished another book before this last week called Change Your Brain Every Day, another great book. And I believe a few videos ago I was also sharing that I read the book called Show Your Work, right? So after one book after another, because I allocate time, certain amount of time every day just to sit down and read, and a little bit more during the weekend. I hope you do the same thing, and let's continue to grow, and let makes this year a wonderful year of learning. All right, all the best, students. See you back in school.